for the beautiful, wonderful Reverend Shahira. And I want to start by sending my deepest, deepest condolences to Rev Shahira and her family on the loss of their beautiful mom, Rebecca Green. 97 years young. What an amazing blessing. And I was thinking this morning, I've been a therapist, a clinical psychologist now for 28 years, and I've worked with women all those years, people I'll say in general, because it's not just women, but I just know, I think about the first probably 12, 13 years of my practice when I would see individuals who would come to see me grieving the loss of their mother. And I truly believe, because of my education, my skill, my experience, that I was helping them in their grief journey. But I realized after losing my mom, now we're at year 13. I lost my mom 13 years ago. And even though I had been counseling people for all those years prior to that on grief and helping them navigate the grief of losing their mom, it wasn't until I lost my mom myself that I realized the just indescribable, the visceral impact of losing a mom and what that does for us. And this morning, as I thought about it, I thought about how it's one of the most sacred experiences, simultaneously the most saddest but sacred experiences that we can experience in our lives. And those two things can definitely be true. It's sacred, and it's definitely a very sad situation. So we want to send our love and cover Shahira, Reverend Shahira, and her family with our love and our thoughts and our prayers this morning. And we have something that we want to just share with the family as you guys are logging on. And I see the familiar faces coming on. Hello, everyone. We're just going to share just a tribute to the beautiful Rebecca Green.
Rebecca Green was born on April 4, 1929, in Brownwood, Georgia, to the late Willie and Purnell Hall. On July 30, 2026, Rebecca went peacefully to be with God, surrounded by the love of God and her family. She was 97 years old. She was first married to Willie Stewart. This marriage was brief, and from this union one child was born, Mary Lee Stewart Cuff. In 1947, Rebecca came to Bridgeton. In 1949, she joined Union Baptist Temple Church under the leadership of Reverend W.T. Sneed. She gave herself fully to Union Baptist Temple Church. She served faithfully as an usher for more than 50 years, was a devoted missionary, and sang in the choir. In February 1949, she married Carl W. Green, and they shared 71 years of marriage together. From this union, 4 children were born: Linda Beatty Stevens, Carl Green Jr.,
Melvin Green,
and Rebecca Ann
Melvin
Green Walker. Whoa. Was a woman of beauty and grace. She was an excellent cook, homemaker, and mother. She traveled throughout the USA, the Caribbean, and Mexico. Rebecca was preceded in death by her parents, Willie and Purnell Hall. Her husband, Carl W. Green Sr., her siblings, Arthur Hall, Bernice Hall, John Hall, and Lily Mae Townsend, and her 2 sons, Carl Green Jr., June Bud, and Melvin Green. cherish her memory.
One brother,
Willie Hall Jr., Gloria, and 3 daughters,
Mary Lee Cuff,
and her 4 children, Jerron, Audrey, Sonia, and Archie,
Linda Beatty Stevens,
and her 2 children,
Lou Beatty 3,
and Brandon, Beatty,
Patty,
and Rebecca Ann, Walker Tommy,
Hardy,
and her children, Michelle Green, Rochelle Green, and William Walker Jr., Keona. She is also survived by 29 great-grandchildren,
many grandchildren,
many great-great-grandchildren, nieces and nephews, and 1 devoted friend, Catherine Brown. Rebecca's life was one of quiet devotion to her God, her church, and her family. Her legacy of love, faith, and service will live on in all who knew and loved her. Lovingly submitted, the family.
Wow. So beautiful. So beautiful. Faith, love, and service. And we thank you for your faith, your love, and service for all of those wonderful 97 years, Mom Rebecca Green. So, yes, we all are keeping your family highly lifted in prayer. And we're going to, and this is the time, as many of you know, after the service, after things settle down and quiet down, that, you know, the family will be needing us more than ever. So I do encourage us all, as I know this Transforming Love Community family, it needs not to be said. I've watched you guys over the years and how you envelop each other and really cover each other and support each other. And there's nothing like that type of community. So thank you again for that beautiful, beautiful tribute. So we're going to switch gears now, and we're going to talk about what we're here for. So I was so excited when this topic came up, because those of you who follow me know that this is near and dear to my heart when we talk about just the whole ideal of quantum leaping and becoming a vibrational match to the life you desire, becoming that vibrational match. So as I was preparing for today, and I have many notes over here, so you may see me looking over here, but you guys know me, I'm gonna just do whatever the Spirit moves me to do during this talk. When I was thinking how this past January, I hosted a sold out manifestation workshop. I have been doing and really teaching on vision boards long before we even called them vision boards. Many years ago, I started attending Unitarian church, and I'm talking in my mid-20s when I started feeling this need to really just dig deeper. You know, I was born in the church, went to church with my family every Sunday, but there was still just this overwhelming feeling that I was missing out on something. And then I started to study just many different practices, which is, you know, I know Reverend Shahir always shares the story about how we met and how we came to be, because there's like-mindedness there in the openness of really just exploring different practices that we can bring into our lives and into our community and the people we care for, to help make our lives just even more just sustainable, but to help navigate the difficulties of this human existence, but not just navigate the difficulties, to rise above them and to tap into something even bigger. And so when I started doing workshops on vision boards, my first introduction came probably over 20 years ago. I think it was called mind mapping at one point. And then it went on and it was called not vision board, but dream boards. I mean, it's had many different names, but the whole premise has remained the same. And when I decided to put on probably this was my largest vision board manifestation workshop this past January. It was just a couple weeks before that I decided to scrap what I typically do in these workshops, which is, you know, encourage the individuals to make boards at that time. Because what I've come to notice over the years is, especially as we increasingly talk about this whole ideal of manifestation, it's become a mainstream term that we couldn't say was the reality 20 years ago. People have tons of books on manifestations. They do the manifestation retreats and workshops and things of that sort. And the vision boarding, which has kind of blown up over the past decades in individuals becoming more familiar in vision boarding and what that does. But what I started to notice as a psychologist is that more and more people were attributing their ability to manifest to these items, to things outside of themselves. They were creating these vision boards, and in their mind, they create the vision board. It means, okay, now this stuff is going to manifest. And as I started to see this increasing just premise of individuals believing that it wasn't an internal thing, it was creating this board and okay, let the magic occur, I knew that we needed to get back to the basics of really helping individuals understand that the ability to manifest resides within. It does not reside in an object, in a vision board. It does not reside in this retreat you want to attend or this book you want to read. All of those things are amazing and they have their value, but they are tools. They are not the transformation. And so today, what I want to bring to you guys is using my framework of the Bloom 7 steps. I want to really discuss how we can truly start to manifest the life that we desire by tapping into ourselves and realizing the power that we possess within to do that. So we're going to go on a ride, and feel free. I'm looking at your comments, and if you have, I was a college instructor for 12 years, so I'm really big about taking notes, but you can always replay this and take your notes as well. But if you have questions, bring them up, because I want this to be this whole discussion to be experiential, but also interactive as well. So we're going to go through the 7 steps of my framework, and we're going to talk about how you can utilize each one of those steps to align, to tap into your power of manifestation and align with the life that you desire for yourself. So the first step of our Bloom 7 steps process is rediscovering you. And I often talk about why I made that the first step. And even in the book, it's the longest chapter in the book. And the reason why is because that rediscovering you, and what I mean by that is really tapping into the truth of who you are, the essence of who you are, contrary to what all these messages and the labels and the things you were told growing up who you should be. As a psychologist, when I get my patients in, by the second session, I'm administering an inventory, a self-inventory that I created many years ago. And I'm administering this because I know before we start any therapeutic journey, it's important for us to get to the root of who this person is. And for many, far too many people, when I ask them those 3 simple words, who are you? And I want you to think about those words for yourself right now. Who am I? What are you going to answer? And I know, those of you who are watching this, you are more savvy, spiritually and about yourself maybe than the average person, because you've been blessed with so many years of the teachings of Rev. But for most individuals, when you ask that question, who are you? They are responding with a role that they play or a job, or, just who they were told they needed to be. When we talk about the power of manifestation, you cannot truly align with the life that was meant for you if you are disconnected from who you truly are. So manifestation begins with authenticity. I want you guys to just really marinate on that for a while. Manifestation begins with authenticity. Before you can become a vibrational match for what you desire, you have to know who you are beneath the roles, the expectations, the conditioning, the wounds, which we all have, and the identities that you have accumulated. You've got to dig past all of that. You got to peel back many of those layers that we many times unconsciously don't even realize that we're walking around with. So I want to bring in a concept as we explore this rediscovering self, this rediscovering of you. Carl Jung, and it's spelled Jung, his teachings are just teachings that I follow for many years. And he was a pioneer of psychology, but he also grew out of the theology programs of university. So he blended a lot of spirituality with psychology. Psychology actually grew out of the theology programs too. So there's a lot of overlap that unfortunately a lot of modern day psychologists and therapists and mental health professionals don't necessarily tap into. But this is something that has always been part of my practice. I believe that we can explain any and everything scientifically, spiritually, and metaphysically. All those things can be true at the same time. So Carl Jung introduced this concept of the ego versus self. And as I was preparing to come to you guys today, I thought about how does that even relate to this ideal of manifestation and alignment. So the ego, I want you guys to think of the ego as middle management. Like if you had your own company, the ego is middle management. It has an important job, but it was never intended to run the organization. But for so many of us, we let our ego run everything. And you cannot, let me take that back. You can manifest from ego, but it's not going to be the manifestations that you want. The ego is our human incarnation. The ego is what we are living this human existence, the lens we're experiencing this human existence from. The self, however, the self is spirit. The self is God consciousness. The self is all knowing. The self is that part of us that just never dies. Even it comes into this earth, when we enter into this earthly realm and we take that self, that spiritual self, that consciousness, that God consciousness with us when we leave as well. So middle management is the ego. The self is the CEO of the company. But for so many of us, we flipped it. We flipped that organizational flow chart and we're letting our ego run us. And that's why there's so much of the despair, the discord, just the disharmony that we see here in this human existence. But the beautiful news is that the self never leaves us, and it's just about us tapping back into us. So self is spirit. As I mentioned, it's the consciousness that we enter this world with, and it's the consciousness that goes with us when we exit this plane. And both of these exist simultaneously. They're meant to exist simultaneously because that's what gives the context to this human existence we're having. But when you think about the ego as it relates to who are you, the ego is the one that's about comparison, proving yourself. It's about fear. It's about this external validation. And our job is not to destroy the ego, but to become observers to the ego. Think about just maybe some difficulties you're having in your life and what emotions may come out with those or up with those difficulties at this time. And it's not to, again, the ego we want it to exist because it really helps us to expand even our conscious awareness here. I'm going through a very difficult situation right now, and I won't get into what the situation is, but one of the realizations that I had last week in the midst of kind of letting this ego kind of just really instill me with fear or anger or just resentment and all those emotions that don't necessarily feel good, I decided to reframe that and tap into the self and the spirit. And I realized, you are going through this to further prove and further be an example to others of how beautiful and just supernaturally you can transform a situation when you align with spirit. Because the way people have been coming into my life to help me navigate this situation, people I didn't even know, or people who are offering their services or their expertise to me to help me navigate this, is nothing more than a supernatural occurrence. And it's not even me out there attempting to use the ego to force my way to make things happen. Because this alignment, when you know who you are and when you align with it, the how no longer is up to you. Those things will fall into place. And we'll get more into that as we move on. So Once you can observe your ego, you begin recognizing if your desire to manifest, is that desire coming from a place of ego or is it coming from a place of spirit? Because as I mentioned before, when we attempt to manifest from this place of ego, meaning comparison, I want what they have, or not truly tapping into the truth of who you are or what your gifts are, you can definitely manifest things, but you will find out that it's not fulfilling. You will find out that the emotions that you thought you would feel, or the feelings, or the sense of happiness and joy or fulfillment that you thought you would have once you acquired whatever that manifestation was, it's just not hitting right. And it's because its manifestation came from a place of ego and not spirit. So, who are you? That's the question. I want you guys to really think about that. When a person asks you that question, is it going directly to a role that you play? Is it directly to what you were told you would be? There's so many people out here just living lives, working careers and jobs that are based on who they were told they are, or what they were told they should be, as opposed to the things that truly resonate in their soul. So this is a practice. I want you guys to do an authenticity audit for yourself. I want you to ask yourself, if you remove who you've been told to be, who you needed to be, and who you have performed all these years, who would be left? Then I want you to identify one area in your life where your authentic self is asking you to live differently. When I do my inventory with individuals to help them better understand who they are, it's amazing how many individuals are living life, again, contrary to the truth of who they are, and they're living it well. Like, they have all the trappings of what success looks like. Like, they have the car, they may have the career, they may even have the spouse, and all the things that we were told would really help us live this fulfilled life, yet they're feeling this overwhelming sense of unfulfillment. If you can relate to that, if you have found yourself, you're able to meet your basic needs, you have shelter over you, you have a consistent job that's coming in, so you're able to meet your basic needs, but yet there's still this sense of unfulfillment in your life, I challenge you to really dig deep and get into the nitty-gritty of who you are, because you cannot out-succeed. Many people think, more success means they'll get closer to the truth of who they are. That's not true. You can't out-succeed, outrun, yourself. That self beckons to be recognized, to be known, and to coexist with ego. It's part of this human existence. The step 2 with that, this framework of the Bloom 7 steps, is living in the now. So living in the now, it's all about the here and now and being present. So if you've heard me talk about this before, I talk about how, and I tell my participants at Bloom Transformation Center when they come in for the sound healing or the other workshops we have there, that the manifestation, abundance, prosperity can only exist in the present. For far too many of us, we spend the majority of our waking hours, that ego is replaying the past, or that ego is obsessing about the what ifs of the future. And when your ego is replaying the past, only if this hadn't happened, I'll be happy when, all those wins that I call the wintality. I'll be happy when I have all my bills paid. I'll be happy when I find Mr. and Mrs. Right. I'll be happy when, I exit this job or this relationship that doesn't fulfill me. That's the wintality mentality. You cannot manifest or get into alignment when that ego has you constantly in this future focused thinking. Or the ego will have you in this past focused thinking, ruminating over what happened in the past, ruminating over the argument you had last week, ruminating over if I only could have or should have or gone a different direction. That type of focus creates depression. Future focused thinking creates anxiety. Past focused thinking creates depression. The ego likes to have you there. There's no benefit. And as I mentioned before, you can manifest in those places, but you just manifest more of what it is that you are focusing on. So if you are obsessing about the future, you're going to manifest more things to obsess about. If you're ruminating about the despairs of the past, you're going to manifest more rumination about those things. Prosperity, abundance, beauty, alignment is in the here and now, and that's where spirit, that's where self comes in. So when you are attempting to align yourself and manifest the life that you desire, it is imperative that you find things, that you connect with things that help you stay present, that helps you stay in the here and now. And what are some ways that you can do that? And when we talk about, again, that ego is going to focus on the failures, the rejection, what's been unfair to you in life, all of that stuff. But the higher self is going to say, what is this all here to show me? Why is this happening to me? As I just shared with you, the situation I'm going through now, I had to shift. And I'm constantly, we all are, guys, this is part of the human existence. I've been doing this work for almost 30 years now, and I still have to challenge myself to not be ran by the ego. And the tools, these are the tools I'm giving you so you can rise above that ego and connect with your higher self. So when we talk about being in the now and really positioning ourselves and aligning ourselves with just the existence that's going to allow the prosperity, the abundance, the manifestation, the beauty, the joy, the peace to come in, we have to find the tools that allow us to be present. And this goes into step 3 of the framework. And that's making sense of your senses. So your 5 senses. The 5 senses, just those simple things, the things we learned in elementary school about the 5 senses. This just tapping into those 5 senses is an excellent way to bring you back to the present, to bring you back to your higher self, to bring you back to the here and now. So when you find yourself ruminating or obsessing, ask yourself, just stop right now. I want everyone to even stop right now. And I want you to just notice something that you see in your environment. As I'm sitting here now, I'm looking out at it right directly in front of me. There's this beautiful, it's probably a 20-foot tall, just shrub that is just green, a few little brown leaves there. Or if I turn to the right, I see this beautiful water, this canal, and I'm watching the waves just ripple along. Something as simple as that, me just taking that 15 seconds out to pay attention to what I'm seeing is being present, is being in the here and now. What are you smelling? Some of you may have candles lit. I actually have some of our little room spray here that I like to spray when I get up in the morning. It has a nice floral rose scent to it. When you're cooking, it's Sunday. Some of you cooking those Sunday, hopefully some people keeping a tradition alive and, cooking a great Sunday dinner. Like really relish in the smells. When you eat, the taste, the texture, the temperature of whatever you're eating, even if you just pause while you're eating for a second. So it's not mindless eating, and you really pay attention to the temperature, the taste, the texture. That's being present. That's being present. What's the other ones? Hearing. What are you hearing right now? Music is just a great sound, is a great way to just bring you present, which is one of the reasons that I believe our sound healing meditation at Bloom Transformation Center has been just so well received by the community, because sound is the first sense that comes on board in utero. Before a baby can see anything, before a baby can taste anything in utero, they can hear. Sound is the last sense that leaves us when we exit. It's nothing more than vibration. So putting on sounds. I was at a concert this past Wednesday night, and it was just so, at the Aretha, which formerly known as Shane Park, but the Aretha, but just all the senses there. You're looking at the water, you're feeling the breeze, you hear the sound, all of those beautiful things there, just you feel so present. And this is why we are drawn to just experiences. We think we're drawn to, people talk about going on vacation, right? Oftentimes people, I'll watch posts where people are vacationing, and then the last day they'll say, okay, back to reality. I truly believe one of the reasons that people are so tapped in and tuned in on vacation is because that's one of the few places people give themselves permission to actually be present, where we can give ourselves permission to be present 24/7. We have to reframe this and get rid of this ideal that being in the here and now, or being present or being tapped in requires us again to go somewhere, to go to a destination, or is outside of ourselves. So really tapping into your senses. I think touch is the other one. Touch, we know science and studies continue to show the healing power of even touch. And that can be just a hug from someone that's being present. That can be wrapping your favorite throw cover around you and just really relishing in how that feels against you, a warm, hot bath. So whatever you can do to tap into your senses is going to help align you with yourself and open up that channel and that pathway to allow all that manifestation and abundance to come in. So those are the step 3 is making sense of your senses. So those are tapping into your 5 senses. The more we do that, I'm living proof of this. The more we tap into these 5 senses, the more we allow ourselves to be in the here and now, the more that sixth sense that we aren't taught about in school, but we all have and we all know about, that sixth sense of intuition, of knowing and not even knowing how you know, the more that strengthens for you, the more it strengthens. And it's amazing, the more we practice this stuff, just the more supernatural life becomes. I was just sharing with someone this morning how I thought of someone I knew last week. Let's just say on a Monday, I thought of a woman I hadn't spoken to in probably over a year. And we've met each other a few times, had coffee once. And I thought about her. The very next day, I was speaking with someone who was having some challenges going on. And they were looking, just for someone who could possibly help maybe navigate them career-wise in a different direction. And at that moment, the woman I thought about the day before, I realized, oh, wow, that this person actually held a position in a place that was very, comparable to what this person was looking for. The very next day, that woman I thought about Monday called me. I never reached out to her. I had all intentions on reaching out to her to see if she could help my friend, but I had not done it. She reached out to me for a totally unrelated matter. I brought the situation up and she said, oh my God, we are looking for someone for that exact same position. Please, have them send me their information. And if that wasn't amazing enough, yesterday I had a speaking engagement. And as soon as I came in a speaking engagement and sat and prepared myself for my segment, this woman walks in. And it was just like, further confirmation that when we are operating from this sense of self, that life just becomes beautifully, beautifully just orchestrated to work in our favors. So that's the making sense of your senses, step 3. There is another component to this making sense of your senses, and this is really recognizing and tapping into our emotions as our internal guidance system. So when we talk about manifestation, I briefly discussed as we started this morning how I was very intentional about not creating vision boards in my latest workshop because there's just been this heavy reliance on It's these outside things that are going to produce our manifestations and not our internal experience and our internal world. So I want you to think about, I want everyone listening now to think about something, one thing you want to manifest in your life, whatever that may be. I want you to think about it. And now I want you to ask yourself, what is the emotion, the emotional state that you believe, that you envision, that you see yourself experiencing when that thing actually happens? I have people oftentimes telling me they want to manifest a new house or a new car, and manifestation, yeah, there is objects. There's nothing wrong with that if you want to just really attach yourself with things. I like nice and beautiful things. When I kind of envisioned and had an image on my vision board of a house very similar to the one that I'm living in now. But it's not the thing that you want. This is where I want to challenge each and every one of us. And this is the realization I had many years ago upon just really starting to delve into this whole concept of manifestation. It's not the things. The things represent something, but it's actually the emotional state that we believe having these things are going to bring us. So think about that thing that came to mind for you. What is the emotional state that you believe it will bring you? I'm saying that because if you can tap into that emotional state now, even in the absence of having what thing you think is going to bring that emotional state, you're going to open the channels of allowing that thing or even something greater that you never even imagined coming into your life. You must tap into the emotion first. Manifestation cannot occur without first tapping into the emotional vibration of what it is you feel that manifestation will bring. We manifest many things we don't want in life. I go back and think about some of the most difficult times I've had in my life and how some of those times, I believe, again, a lot of things are here to teach us and they're happening for us, not to us. But if I'm going to be honest, there's a lot of things that I can look back on and say that it was my emotional state at that time, one of fear or despair, that channeled in a manifestation that I did not want. So if you can start to really recognize and tap into those emotions. I go back to thinking when I was in undergrad, I had my son in undergrad, and I moved into a home that my parents owned. I paid my parents rent for this home because now I had my family, and it was in the hood, a home in the hood. And I remember I would put decorative flags out around the holiday. I mean, you would have thought that this house was like in some suburban, probably more desired zip code area. But it didn't matter to me because I knew, and I knew without knowing, because I wasn't as well versed in this whole ideal of manifestation then. But I was very intentional about aligning with just an existence and emotion as if I were acting as if I were in that more desired area. So this home, like I said, was in the hood. It was a very, high crime area. And to top it off, we were literally right off the freeway. So I would hear cars like all night long passing, trucks and cars and horns honking. And I remember telling myself that I was going to start imagining that the cars wisping by were actually waves. And so the freeway for me, I'm like, nope, that's water next to me. That's I'm listening to water, I'm not listening to cars going by. And as foolish as that may sound, the emotion, instead of being kind of disturbed by the noise pollution going on, instead of being irked by the horns blasting, I was able to find some sense of peace within myself. And lo and behold, you fast forward many years, and for the past 10 years, I've been living off the water with actual wave sounds. But I believe I ushered that in. by using, tapping into my emotion and then going into the next step, the visualization. So step 5, or step 4, I should say, is all about the visualization. I want you to combine 3, 4, and 5 of this framework, steps 3, 4, and 5. This is where the magic really, really occurs. Tapping into your senses, making it sensitive to your senses. Step 4 is the visualization. I want you to start in your mind's eye, really devising an image of the life you want for yourself. Like even now, close your eyes and just picture yourself in that setting with whatever it is that you desire to manifest. See it there. I want you to also tap into the emotion that you're going to feel when that thing materializes in your life. Tap into it now. Like, feel it. It should be some smiles on faces right now. It may be some foot tapping because you're so excited. Tapping into that emotion, seeing it in your mind's eye is really helping to tap into that higher self. It's putting that ego in its place. It's opening up and inviting the prosperity, the abundance, the manifestation to come in. This is where your real power lies. And then we go into step 5, which is about the affirming it. The affirmations is step 5 of this process. Affirmation. Every word we speak is a vibrational offering. Every word we speak is a vibrational offering. And that vibrational offering goes out and it comes back to us. So I always find it amazing when individuals tell me what it is that they want. And I apologize, I had this on Do Not Disturb, but I appreciate it. I'm getting some great messages from you guys who are listening, but I'm going to put it on, make sure we have this Do Not Disturb on the right setting. So let's see. Okay. So we are good, hopefully. But yeah, every word that we speak offers a vibration. It's a vibrational offering. So I was, again, in thinking about preparing for today, I was thinking about the wind, because when I say that every word you speak is a vibrational offering, it's a very kind of intangible concept to have. I get it. But when you think about the wind, think about how the wind operates. We can't see the wind, but we can definitely see what it does. I can't see the wind, but I can see these leaves moving in front of me. I can't see the wind, but I can see these waves moving on the side of me. The wind is a vibrational offering. Your words are a vibrational offering. Words are very similar. We may not physically see the vibration leaving our mouths, but words can shift a room. It can change a relationship. It can alter our emotional state. Words reinforce beliefs, influences direction in which we move. So if your words carry energy, I want you to ask yourself, in what direction are your words moving you in? You cannot say what it is you want to manifest, but your words are contrary to that. You cannot envision this life you want for yourself, but your words are contrary to that offering, that visual offering you are giving. So I want you to really be intentional about the words you use. I oftentimes share the story of a client I had many years ago, and he was a white male, corporate male, very corporate, all the things that kind of go along with that. And he was very worried about losing his job because he was not performing up to par. And so I gave him the assignment that I wanted him to just create 10 affirmations that are contrary to, what he was experiencing. 10 affirmations to affirm, what he wanted. I am performing well at work. I am celebrated in my success at work. Whatever those affirmations needed to be. And he came back to me the following week and he said, I can't do that. And I'm like, what do you mean you can't do that? He says that, this whole ideal of affirmation and using these words for this, it just sounds too silly to me. It sounds very silly. Like, who wants to sit up and just rehearse these affirmations? I say, you do it all the time. He said, no, I don't. I told him, I said, every time you come to session, you're telling me, I'm going to get fired. I am, I'm not worthy, I'm not a good husband. Like, he was always offering these vibrational words that were contrary to what he said that he wanted. So in that realization, he realized what he had been offering vibrationally was actually manifesting in his life around him. And the same is true for us all. So the practice that I want you guys to initiate for yourself is to listen to yourself. For one day, maybe choose today, choose tomorrow, but I want you to become an observer of your own language in conversations that you have with others, and most importantly, with the conversations you even have with yourself. And when you hear yourself affirming something you don't want to continue creating, I want you to stop it, I want you to observe it, and I want you to replace it. Because if your words are moving energy like the wind, you've got to be aware of what direction your words are moving you. And then choose a language that is more aligned with the direction that you want to go. So by this point, we have explored who you are, getting to the truth of who you are through that higher self, not through the ego. We have explored living in the now, where your power comes from, the here and the now, not future focused, past focused thinking. We have explored making sense of your senses and how you can observe your emotions and your senses and not allow the ego to run the show. We have talked about visualization, how you're consciously seeing in the direction of what you're desired, and how you're consciously speaking with the affirmations in the direction of what you desire. Now comes step 6. We have 2 more steps to go, step 6 and step 7. Step 6 is the stillness. It sounds contrary, right? Because now we had you guys doing all these things. What do you mean stillness? Stillness, there's so much power in stillness. There's so much power. Even in the practice of yoga, yoga is all about, stretching, getting these poses together. But most yoga teachers I meet say the real power is in the stillness in between the poses. Because once you've aligned all those things we've talked about before, your job now isn't to keep pushing, to keep forcing, to keep grinding, to keep chasing. It's not to keep manipulating. It's not to keep trying to figure everything out. I'm going to tell you guys, for me to master this ideal of stillness is a big deal, because if you know me, it's just, I'm always, you're like, it was all about productivity. So many of us, I had this great conversation with a friend earlier this week, so many of us, especially our generation, we were raised on this ideal of productivity. How much can you get done? Just keep moving, keep moving. So this whole ideal now in my life of stillness, of surrendering, is foreign, but the results are proof positive of the power that holds in the stillness. And stillness is not about doing nothing. That's not what I'm saying. It's not about being passive. Stillness is trusting that the how is not up to you. Stillness is trusting that once you've done all those other steps that we talked about before, that it's just going to come to you. Now you're going to be a magnet to manifestation. I mean, doesn't that sound attractive and amazing, to be a magnet to manifestation? This is where meditation becomes powerful. This is stillness, and it's not because you're desperately meditating to make something happen, but this whole stillness, this surrender, this meditating, it strengthens the connection you've already established with your higher self. That's the only way you strengthen that connection to higher self. So many people are so uncomfortable being still or being alone or being with their own thoughts, but this is key. This step 6 is so very key. It's so very key to making things manifest. Stillness quiets middle management. It quiets the ego. Ego has us moving all the time. Ego has us needing to just really value ourselves through how much we can get done. But when we tap into the beauty of stillness, manifestation starts to occur with ease, with far more ease than you ever imagined. When you're operating often, in authenticity, when you're living in the here and now, when you understand and become an observer to your emotions and tap into your senses, when we recognize the beauty of imagination and visualization and the power of our words, manifestation starts to occur with so much ease that it just blows your mind. Your heavy lifting is done at that point. You don't have to chase what you've become aligned with. I know Reverend has said it many times, and I've adopted it in many of my talks as well. You just align and allow. You just be still and allow it to come to you. Allow yourself to see what happens when you stop forcing and you start allowing. And that path that unfolds oftentimes will look completely different from the one your ego designed. That's the beauty of it. I never would have imagined even being where I am right now. Like when I even had this on my vision board in my mind, oh, once I retire, I don't think I'm gonna ever retire because I love what I do. But once I slow down, I'll find me a place somewhere in the tropics near the water. And that's what I did not know that this was around the corner for me, that, to be able to align with a home that is right here on the water, that I step out and I feel like I've stepped into the Garden of Eden, right? I mean, it's just such a beautiful existence to have. But I didn't force this. I didn't force it at all. I got still. I recently had an experience about a year and a half ago, and that's what Spirit told me. It told me this is your time to be still, to be soft, and to just allow it to unfold with ease. So I want you to practice releasing the how. The how isn't up to you. Bring to mind something you're actively trying to manifest. Once again, bring that thing to mind and ask yourself, have you done what is yours to do to allow that thing? Have you done those 5 steps ahead that we talked about to allow that thing to happen? And if you have not, it's time to start implementing this framework. You're going to release the how. You're going to release the when. Like I said, I thought this would be decades from now for me. You're going to surrender the need to control the outcome. And you're going to be open and remain open to what unfolds. Set the intention, align with it, do your part, and then surrender. Be still. And that stillness and surrender will lead us directly to the final step, and that's step 7. That's connectedness. That's when you start to see all the evidence of all those 6 steps before working in your favor. The connectedness, the synchronicities that's going to occur in life. It's going to literally blow your mind. You're going to pay attention, and you're going to recognize that you were never operating in isolation, that this higher self that is connected to the infinite field out there, it was never just about you. Ego has you thinking it's all you. You're lonely. It's just me. Nobody's here to help. Connectedness really illuminates the fact that we're all part of this infinite web, this connection. So you're going to see the evidence. You're going to notice the synchronicities, the person who calls you at exactly the right time, the example I gave you from last week. That you're going to notice the opportunities that you could not have orchestrated yourselves. My God, just in these last 6 months, the things that have just really happened and come into my life that has shown me so much favor that I could not have tried to figure out for myself to help me navigate this situation is supernatural. You're going to notice the doors that unexpectedly opens and the doors that unexpectedly closes, because that's part of manifestation too, getting the things out of your life that's contrary to your manifestation. You're going to notice how that delay is working in your favor. And you're going to notice how that thing that you thought was rejection is actually redirection. The situations where you realize you were guarded, guided, and protected for something you did not even know was coming. And this is what it's all about, guys. This is when we're going to start standing, and you're going to start standing, because I'm doing it now. And it doesn't mean, even when we achieve these things and we start to tap into this beautiful power of manifestation, get it out your head that you think that it doesn't mean things are not going to hit the fan and stuff and challenges aren't going to come your way. They will. This is also a faulty belief that once we tap into this power of manifestation, it means life is going to be perfect. We weren't here to live a perfect life. We were here to coexist with ego, to help expand our conscious self. But boy, oh boy, when you follow this framework, when you really understand the place of ego as middle management and the place of self and spirit as God consciousness, you start to experience life. And even when those things do come into your life, you have all the tools and the awareness to navigate it and to understand that these things are happening for you, and it's just going to further expand you, and it's just going to further lead to more connectedness in your life. So, again, we are all connected. We all possess the abilities to tap into this manifestation that we desire in our lives. It's all about just reframing our thought process. It's all about challenging what we know. It's all about really getting to the truth and the authenticity of who we are. Because when we do that, life truly becomes magical. It becomes supernatural. I'm still in awe when things happen. And I'll talk to Rev sometime, and she said, why are you surprised? You know it's gonna, and it's like, I know this, but at the same time, I never want to start being in awe of just how beautifully orchestrated these synchronicities are. So guys, we are at the end now. I want to thank you all for joining me today. This has been just reaffirmation for me, because in this difficult season that I'm navigating right now, I've needed to remind myself of this. So it's been a gift for me to be able to come to you to share this, because it solidified the things that I do know, the truth that I do know. And so I thank you all. And I encourage you to just get out there and live your life in full bloom. Thank you. I see the comments, and I appreciate you all. And we love you, Rev. We love you, Rev and Shahira.
you.